right. Welcome to the very first episode of the Hungry Creators podcast with Mezame, and I'm your host Mezame. So I don't have a guest here today, so today's episode is not the actual first episode. It's kind of like a episode 00, so it's the prologue to the actual podcast. So I decided to make this particular episode because primarily I need to share with you a little bit more about what the podcast is all about, and maybe get to know each other a little bit better, or in this case, get to know me a little bit better. I did share some hints on my social media platforms like Twitch, when I was live streaming the other day. I did share a little bit about what my plans are for the podcast, but all those were small little nuggets of information, nothing so drastic or detailed, or was drastic even the right word? Yeah, so it's sort of like a hint as to what's to come. But I'm gonna be very, very honest with you guys. I am gonna give you even more hints this time round. But because I don't have a guest, today's topic is pretty much an open introduction session of sorts. All right. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, maybe a quick self-introduction would be in order. Would be good in order. My name is Mezame, and I am a regional marketing executive for a company called DC Pro. We specialize in marketing consultancy support as well as sales and distribution support for various brands in the photo video space. Sometimes we also because we do work with content creators, we also explore the live streaming space or even the content creation space in general. And I'm based in Singapore, but I do travel around quite a fair bit. And to be honest, I never thought that I would actually go into podcasting someday. I mean, I did do some versions of podcasts in the past, but more of those types where it's all tied into live streaming. So for example, in the past where I actually did a lot of podcasting, if you can call it that, on Twitch. It started out with the Amazing Live Show. I invited photographers, videographers, retouchers, DIY artists onto my show on Twitch through Zoom calls, and we actually had conversations about the industry and how they actually how the industry actually functions, and we learn a lot more from these folks. And the reason why I did that is because we actually had the circuit breaker. In some countries they don't call it that, they actually call it lockdown. You guys know it. It's because of COVID, right? The pandemic was a worldwide phenomenon, and all of us were affected. And because I thought I couldn't do photography anymore. I was a professional photographer for quite some time. And because of the COVID situation, I decided to pivot a little bit and do some content creation, because I have all this gear right in the house. And I had a small room back then. I was still living with my parents. And because of my past experience as a primary school teacher, wow, we should have done chronologically all the way to the back. Now it feels like Back to the Future. We're traveling back to the past. But yes, I was a primary school teacher, and I used my experience as well as technical know-how that I carved out of the woodblock during my term as a primary school teacher, learning through various means how to create content for my kids. I realized that it's quite applicable to what I'm doing today as a content creator, or even as a marketing executive. So I thought that it would be quite cool to engage fellow photographers through a series of online live stream podcasts, or even through live workshops or sharing sessions where I actually did a lot of miniature photography, product photography works in my studio, or rather my home room back then. It was just a small, tiny space. It was one of those things where I thought it could be good for me in terms of practice, but also at the same time share my personal experiences with other photographers who were also hunkering down during the pandemic and couldn't do anything. Most of us actually lost a lot of jobs. I lost a lot of jobs. My gosh, I think we probably have to dedicate a whole episode just about that. That particular topic, but maybe in the future we'll do that. Who knows, right? But I also want to share a little bit more about my interactions with other people, because in the past when I meet people at events, I never really got a chance to vlog or even take note of what they've done and share with other people. I mean, yeah, conversations are between the two of us, but it just stays there. So I thought, if I could invite these people onto my podcast show back then on Twitch, I think it'd be quite beneficial for a lot of people who were stuck, and it actually kind of took off. Like, a lot of people actually tuned in, a lot of interactions were happening. I invited photographers and retouchers and DIY artists and creators in the professional scene from various places. Like, we had folks from Canada, we had folks from the US, we had folks from Luxembourg, China, Australia, Canada, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia. We even had people from what do you call that? Wow. Suddenly I can't remember. Serbia, I think. Did I have someone from Serbia? No, I don't think so. I think I had a conversation, but I don't think I held a podcast session with him. But yeah, we got to know each other because of the podcast, because we actually did share a thing or two about photography and retouching. So it was a very good space for people who want to learn more about photography, and also at the same time, people who want to experience what it's like to be a professional photography industry. Because like, for example, we even had a production house manager and founder, like Sebastian, who was on the show he's from Shooting Gallery Asia here in Singapore. We had him on the show as well. We had various members of associations like the Professional Photographers Association of Singapore. We also had like people like James Tan, who might be returning on this podcast, by the way. He I already spoken to him. He says he's very, very keen this time around to share his thoughts and knowledge as the president of VICPA. Right, I'll talk more about VICPA in the future as well. But just to let you guys know, this is actually something that is probably very beneficial for freelancers based in Singapore, and I hope it can help people who will be tuning in. We also had a lot of opportunities to do show and tell. So yeah, I featured photography works like for example, works by Lilian Liu, one of my good friends, Emily from Singapore. Lilian, I think, where is she based in now? I think Canada. We also have Benjamin Von Wong. Now he's an environmental activist doing a lot of good work out there. Rainy Robin, all the way from Canada as well. I just realized I know a lot of Canadian friends. And we also had people in various genres of photography. We have professional portrait photographers, we had architectural photographers, we also had toy photographers, we also had, believe it or not, cosplay photographers, because I used to do cosplay photography as well. Like, that was what I was known for, I think, back in the day. Most of my works were featured on various online platforms, places like Petapixel, Digital Ref, newspaper articles like South China Morning Post, Entertainment Weekly also published some of my works. So it was pretty cool, and that was pre-COVID, like when times were a lot better. But yeah, I was a primary school teacher. I used to teach primary school English, math, and art. I don't know why I taught math. My mathematics was never good, but it was quite serious to think that I was a primary school teacher for quite some time. I think it was about 5 or 6 years like that. After my bond was over, I just decided to quit, and then I joined a company called Phase One, where they deal with digital medium format cameras and accessories. And then I went over to Capture One, and then COVID happened. And yeah. Oh, wait, I almost forgot. I did have a stint as a professional photographer in a studio right after my bond was over. Yeah, so in between my days as a primary school teacher and my days as air sales support engineer for Phase One, I was in a studio for about 9 months. Wow, that brings back some memories. I think the reason why I didn't mention it earlier is because it's a place I don't really want to remember. Maybe one of these days, on one episode, I will talk about this. But it wasn't really a very good experience. It did help me with understanding a little bit more about the local photography scene, but yeah, I'll reserve that for an episode in the future. Yeah, so where was I? Fast forward to 2022, after briefly, streaming on Twitch and all that, I also started to explore streaming on YouTube, and I did my my second podcast there, and this time around it's called Kopi Chat. And basically, Kopi Chat is a episodic podcast where I invited content creators, live streamers normally from Singapore, to come over to my place. Well, not really my place. I was the third owner. My parents' place, where my wife and I used to stay for about a few years, I think. We stayed there for quite some time, and even though we had a small, little, tiny space, we actually made do with it, and yeah, it's a lot smaller than what we have here right now. And we actually had conversations on content creation. So that was Kopi Chat. And at the same time, also, I introduced a little bit of fun by having the guests speak to the mic and at the same time try to accomplish some tasks by maybe like completing a jigsaw puzzle, or not a jigsaw puzzle, what do you call that, a Jenga tower. Making them do fishing exercises with a turntable thing with little plastic fishes and using a broken fishing rod. It was kind of fun. Well, it lasted, but deep down inside, I did feel that I want to do something a little bit more serious. I want to do something that is also, like a follow-up to the first podcast, which was called The Amazing Life Show. And I thought that, I want to do something like that again. But this time around, I want to open it up to a wider audience. And hopefully it's something that, you guys who are tuning in right now will find useful and beneficial. So now we're at 2025. After a couple of years streaming on Twitch, I got invited to join my current company, where I get to meet a lot of content creators. I travel around the world and meet a lot of content creators, not just in Singapore, not just in Asia, but folks in the Middle East as well as in the US as well. And it's been a very enriching experience because you actually start to see different perspectives. And I thought that, why not share those perspectives? Because the conversations that we had sometimes, like whether it's in Singapore or elsewhere, it can get very, very interesting, to say the least. But most importantly, it can be very intense, and there's a whole lot of discourse that I think would be quite good if it's shared with the rest of the world. And that's the whole idea behind this podcast, right? So coming back to this podcast, like having had a lot of conversations with a lot of creators from around the world, I realized that it could be really cool to actually share all this with all of you guys. And I did share my plans with some of the creators that I met along the way, and most of them, in fact all of them, have shared a very strong interest in terms of wanting to come onto the show, which means they'll be coming to my podcast and then having them sit here in the sofa. We have a mic set up for them and all that, and I probably have to clean up a little bit because this space is still a mess. It's a work in progress, right? And, this video will be released on my birthday, on the 24th of June, 8 p.m. Singapore time. By the time you guys watch this, it'll probably be out. And yeah, so we're going to discuss about a couple of things. 3 things, actually, that are sort of like pillars to the conversation, right? So basically, the Hungry Creators podcast is all about finding those 3 main themes that support the content creation journey of all the guests who are coming to the show. So we're going to talk about, number 1, the challenges that they faced. All right, so it's going to be very interesting, but content creators do experience a lot of challenges, whether it's from family and friends, or maybe they have their own internal struggles that they have to deal with, or maybe they have fears. Like a lot of people have fears of starting something or making a change, right? I think we've heard these kind of conversations before, and I think it'll be quite interesting to hear it from the creators themselves. And of course, I do want to also have conversations about the failures they had to overcome. And I think failures can define you. You can either make or break through failures. I always believe that failures are the best teachers. And unfortunately, sometimes the failures can be so bad that you do retreat. You trigger off your fight or flight response, and most of the time it could be flight, right? So maybe we'll dispel the myths that surround why failures can be a permanent thing and totally destroy your journey and halt you from doing anything. I mean, like I always think about the Lord of the Rings, right? They always encounter failures, or even Star Wars. They always the heroes always encounter failures, setbacks, and all that. For example, Frodo and Sam, they were split away from their fellowship, and then they had to find their way to Mordor to cast the ring in. And even then, also there were so many challenges along the way, and there was so many setbacks. Similarly, for Star Wars, we had a major setback for the Rebel Alliance in The Empire Strikes Back. Han was captured and sent to Jabba the Hutt as a piece of carbonite. I'm just mentioning this because I'm looking at my my Star Wars figurine over there. Yeah, so every story has got I would say a lesson to learn from, you know what I mean? So I thought it'd be quite interesting to actually explore that route as well. And of course, finally, some creators may have actually reached the end game and have actually succeeded. And we want to hear those success stories as well, or if they are still a work in progress. All right. This is something that we also want to talk about as well. Basically, what are they doing? Like, how is your progress as a creator? Like, where are you at now? And could you share with us like where you actually stand now in terms of your progress in your journey towards your success story? So I thought that would be quite interesting to share as well. So yeah, so we're gonna cover things like like if they actually failed but succeeded, like how did they do it? We want to hear. So yeah, so we're going to cover the challenges that they faced, the failures they had to overcome, and the success stories that hopefully they have already achieved or are working towards, and they just share a little bit of their experience. Yeah, so there are also a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes, but I just want to share with you guys some of that here and now. This podcast will not be possible without some really amazing people, right? And these brands that come on board to support the podcast channel in itself is testament to the title itself. When I pitched the idea to these brands, I'm gonna call it the Hungry Creators Podcast. They were like, why hungry? And I told them it's a wordplay on the quote, starving artists. Whenever we hear people share their struggles, they always say like, I'm a creator and I'm sort of like a starving artist. I'm struggling every single time. So I was thinking to myself, like, what if we spin it around and turn it into something a little bit more positive, right? And I drew inspiration from Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs, he used to say this line like, stay hungry, stay foolish. And I really I want to say like and love at the same time, becomes life. I really want to say I love that line because it makes me think like, if you were a starving creator, it means that you're just surviving and you're struggling to make ends meet. And I used to be in that road, and I used to live that life, and it was such a struggle, and it was so painful, and man, if I were to talk about that right now, I think this podcast episode considering it's an introduction episode, it's going to get a lot longer. So maybe I'll reserve it for another day. Of course, during this podcast, I may want to share some personal nuggets, of my own personal experiences on top of interviews with my guests. But back to the starving artist. The notion of starving means it's really bad, right? But being hungry means that you want to survive. You have this definitive instinct within you that makes you want to go out there and challenge the status quo and actually like not say force yourself, but more like find ways to overcome your adversary or your challenges, whatever you're facing right now. So being hungry means you want to go and seek out, you want to hunt and get yourself out of that challenging spot that you're facing right now. So that's the whole basis behind the title, the Hungry Creators Podcast, right? And when I pitched this to the brands, they were like, wow, that's kind of cool. And I was like, oh yeah. and everything happens for a reason, right? So when they heard the pitch and they thought that it was kind of cool, and they decided, like, okay, you know what, let's go and come on board. So I want to take a moment to actually thank a few brands and people who actually made this really possible. First of all, let's talk about the mic. Oh my gosh, I love this mic. This is the Shure SM7DB. Right, so this is the one that just came out last year, I believe, and we have two of these in the studio right now on top of my regular SM7B. These are provided by Shure, of course, as well as E&E. All right, so thank you so much for providing us with these wonderful microphones. And the microphones are actually connected by XLR cable with this Samsung boom arm that is carrying the cables down to the Zoom PodTrack P8, which is a mixer that makes all the sound happen, connecting it to the A10 Mini Pro ISO. And these devices, the Samsung boom arm as well as the Zoom PodTrack P8, are possible thanks to our friends at CityMusic. So special thank you to Inlung and Sinlung for actually providing us with this support. And for the A10 Mini Pro ISO, I bought this with my own carousel money, and it was really a good deal, so I can't say no. We also have most of the gear here on top of this lovely coffee table here. This is the Katura, and I'm also seated on the loft. These are both by Omnidesk. Special shout out to Ben and his team for actually supporting in all the creative endeavors that I've been doing for the past few years. When I mean past few years, I mean my gosh, Omnidesk has been supporting me since my first day as a content creator, and I believe I'm still, I believe I was there, or still am, the first ambassador appointed to represent the brand, and I'm very, very proud to actually share more information about Omnidesk as well as represent the brand in any capacity that they need me to. So I do have a lot of Omnidesk equipment here. I have even my main table is an Omnidesk Ascent. My wife's table is I think it's an Ascent as well, but a smaller one, because she says she doesn't like a big table. I got a big one. This is really awesome. And also all this lovely setup here, even though it's a bit messy right now, it's not possible to be seen if not for the fact because of this gentleman called Richard from Amaran. So thanks to him, he actually light up my life. That was kind of cringe. On top here, we have the Amaran F22X, serving as a top-down light so I can use it for my unboxing on the Omnidesk Katura. Over there, the key light for my face is actually the Verge. It's a 30-watt LED panel. It's actually one of the first series of the Verge series. I mean, there are two Verge series. I think there's the Verge and the Verge Max. So this is the smaller one, right? And behind me here, you can see just over there, this is the panel 120C. It's an RGB light, but I have set it to bicolor. So if I want to switch to RGB, I can do that as well. And all these lights are connected to the Sidus link or even the Amaran app itself. So really glad to actually have all this support as well. Also, I need to thank the fine folks at Typhoon Systems. So, Kenneth and Binky, thank you so much for supporting me with the Typhoon Systems monitor. There's one right over there, right off screen. I know you guys can't see it, but it's there to show me like what Blackmagic's A10 Mini Pro ISO is actually seeing. It's feeding straight to the monitor, so I can actually do like a preview when I do recording and things like that. Also, special thank you to Gerald from Sony Singapore, who actually provided me with this beautiful Sony A7R3. Like right in front over here, he's kind of recording me right now. This is the Sony A7R3, and it's mated to the Sigma 2470mm f2.8 DGDN art lens, and it's one of my favorite lenses by Sigma because it's just so versatile. It's great for portraiture, it's great for videos, it's great for photography in general. This camera over here, this one right here, this is my own personal A6400 mated to a Sigma 1750 f2.8 DCDN contemporary lens. So this is a APS-C camera with an APS-C lens. So pretty cool. And of course, I just want to say thank you to you guys for actually supporting this podcast as well. It's my third time trying out a podcast. This time is a bit different because it's not a live stream. So I do try to, make sure that the quality of the podcast is good and all that. And I'm willing to take in considerations and suggestions from you guys who are tuning in right now on topics that you want to hear, which guests you want to see come back from previous podcast episodes, as long as they are here in Singapore. and more importantly, like what kind of stories you have to share. I want to hear your stories. Like, go ahead and follow my social media channels. If you want to reach out to us, you can actually come over to our Discord server, the Mezame, which is my Discord server since I started live streaming. Come on in there. There's a channel for the Hungry Creators podcast, so you can actually participate in conversations there as well. Yeah. So I do also want to share that from time to time I will maybe do some sharing about some of the events that my company actually does, because these days we still do a lot of workshops and product trainings and sharings at various capacities. So it could be like a major workshop overseas, or even like a small monthly gathering at our office studio. So if you guys want to be a part of that, come in and join our community as well. Let's see. Yeah, what else can I share with you guys? Because my gosh, I really feel that there's so much to unpack, so much to share. Definitely have to clean up the studio, but that's coming up. Yeah, over time. I happy, clean, tidy space makes for a better experience creating content. Yeah, I think that's something I just want to share with you guys with regards to this. Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. Expect a lot of guests from the industry. Expect a lot of fun topics to hear about and discuss about. Expect a lot of conversations that maybe can be a little bit controversial but still relevant, and I think could be very beneficial to those tuning in. Tell your friends about this podcast, and especially those of your friends who are in the creative industry and could actually hear some, I would say, anecdotes that could help them, or even stories that could help them, inspire them, bring them some kind of hope. Because I actually forgot to mention this. One of the key reasons why I started this podcast is because I really hope to have it as a platform to inspire others. Because I've met some content creators. They are brilliant people. They are fantastic at their craft. They're really great. But because they are so, how to say, overly concerned about a lot of things, like imposter syndrome is a real thing, and it's a deal breaker for most. Maybe we can talk about that as well, and having this as a safe space, we can actually explore possibilities to help each other, and hopefully we can all emerge as much better creators. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. I now I have to think about how to exit this episode, because I didn't think this far. Do I just fade out, or do I just cut it out? Like, gun. Yeah. Oh yeah, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you're on my YouTube. And if you're on my Spotify, well, hit the follow button and stay tuned for more episodes. So yeah, that's it. I think pretty much covered everything I need to cover. Yeah. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Oh, and scheduling. Okay, all right. Next episode. I'll try my best to post an episode at least once a week or twice a month, depending on my schedule, because I do have a full-time job and it can get very, very difficult to arrange for meetups and all that with people. But yeah, I think we have a lot of plans that I can only share much later once they are all concrete. But in the meantime, do follow my social media platforms. And that's it. I'll see you guys really, really soon. All right. Stay safe, take care. This has been the Hungry Creators Podcast with Mezame. I'll see you around when I see you. I'll see you around when I see you. I'll see you around. Oh man, I gotta work on the exit. Ciao.